Uh, Good morning, everybody. I'm out in my garage today. I just wanted to be out of the house when I talked about this. Um, this is going to be another installment of my life with IED, intermittent intermittent explosive disorder. I don't like looking at the camera much because it's still hard for me sometimes to talk about this stuff. Well, it's always hard. Um, But last time I talked about kind of the differences that I feel. Now, this is just me. This isn't anything scientific or anything like that. But some of the differences that I feel between, um, um, shoot, some of the differences I feel between PTSD and IED. Um, Today, I'm going to try to explain a little more what IED actually is, intermittent explosive disorder, and the emotions and the triggers that can set it off to where you become almost an uncontrollable person. Um, IED, intermittent explosive disorder, is actually a mental thing. It's disguised. If a person doesn't know what it is, it's actually disguised as just anger issues. As I said before, you know, a trigger can be something as simple as somebody you say hi to and they don't say hi back. They saw you, but they don't say hi back. Uh, uh, Something like that can be just a simple trigger. But let's go into a little more detail on triggers real quick. What's a trigger? In a pew pew, a trigger, you pull back, mechanism comes through, little pin comes out, hits the back of a little thing with brass with a little bit of gunpowder, and it goes pew or bang or whatever or boom, depending on what pew pew you have. But that's a trigger on a saw. You squeeze that trigger, and something happens through the electrical current. The blade starts turning. A trigger. Think of it like this. You know, Sitting there, you're holding something, and you squeeze a trigger. Well, it's kind of the same thing. When, in my mind, okay, this is all right. I have a lot of back issues, and that's why I can't work right now. I've been in the hospital 3 times at an ER, not being able to move my arms or legs, not having feeling. Your legs are there, but you can't feel it. That's other issues that I have. That's not IED. But even during COVID 19, when nobody could be in the ER with you, my wife always went in with me because pain is a trigger. I get really, really, really nasty at times when I'm in a lot of pain. Um, right now my back's hurting, my neck hurts. It's stuff from all the jobs I've had over the years. Pain's a big trigger for me because it's something I can't control. Not that I'm a controlling person. I don't think I am. My ex-wife might say otherwise, but my wife that I have now, I don't think she would say I'm a controlling person. I might be when I'm in an episode, but I'm not as a normal person a controlling person. But there's always things in your control. You control your vehicle. You control your you can't control your thoughts, but you can control your actions. Well, once a trigger is pulled or tripped, there with a person with IED, you lose control of simple things. Your words. Your brain goes from controlling what you say, the cuss words, the derogatory words, the at times maybe even some people maybe even a racist word. I'm not going to go into all that, at least not this time. But you lose control is what I'm saying. And when you lose, with me, I'm a fairly strong guy. I'm not as strong as I used to be, but I'm still a strong guy. And used to be when I was in an episode, and even now, when I get into an episode and I go off the deep end, I mean, you don't care no more. And once you get to the point where you don't care because of your emotions flood you at that moment, it's like an adrenaline doping person. Well, not an adrenaline doping person, but it's like 100 tons of adrenaline just hit your system at one time and you become a super person. Back in the 60s and 70s, maybe even some of the 80s, you hear about people on LSD, PCP, and all that had superhuman strength. Cops couldn't control them. Handcuffs, couldn't control them, because of the drugs, the illicit drugs they were on. Well, I've never done any of that stuff, but I've broke police handcuffs. Just drinking. But I was in a full episode. I broke police handcuffs. Cop hit me right here. I had it coming. I totally had it coming. The things I was saying, I was told later down the road because I don't remember. The things I was saying to the cop is 100% beyond anything that I would ever even dream of saying to anybody, let alone act on them. And I swung at him. When I finally got up, I swung at him. And I missed him, and then he hit me. I fell back, hit the wall, stood back up. Never swung again that I know of. He didn't hit me no more, but they were freaked out when I stood back up. He didn't knock me out. That's the IED. I was in a full episode. That's another difference between PTSD and IED. PTSD, a friend of mine, 2 tours in Iraq, love him to death. He's a hero. When he would go into an episode of his PTSD, when I was around him all the time, I would hit him. I'd walk up to him and I'd slap him right across just like that. Hard as I could sometimes. Snap him out of it. Bring him back to reality. Me, you slap me, if I'm in the middle of an attack, I'm going to put you in the hospital. Or worse. That's the scary part. That same night I swung at a cop is the night I broke handcuffs. They were too tight. My arms I can't hardly reach behind my back, and they had me cuffed behind my back. I had to use 2 sets of cuffs. because my arms don't reach back there that far to touch, and I was resisting because IED. There was a reason I'm not going to go into. It's a personal reason why I was resisting so much. I don't want to get into a lot of details because then it hurts me to think about it. But I told the cops, too tight, too tight, too tight. Please loosen these up. They wouldn't do it. They were still trying to get me calmed down. I broke them. And I said, can you loosen them up now, please? And I held my arms out. They put a different set on me. And I was fine. I was 100% compliant after that. I spent 5 days in a institution. One of the other triggers was I was trying to quit smoking. And I had been on Chantix. I'll give you a warning now. If anybody has any kind of mental problems, never let them go on Chantix. Never. It messes with their mind worse. The pain I was in, the drinking to mask the pain, plus all the medicine that I was on top of the Chantix, I lost it. Reason why I lost it, I fell in trying to cook dinner. They said before I fell, I was singing, I was dancing, I was dancing with my cat. And when I fell, I started cussing. Got up, fell again, and it wasn't because I was drinking. It was because of my other issues. So I fell straight down. I didn't fall over. If I fell over, it could have been a stumble. But I fell down. And when I fell down the second time, I went full-blown IED trigger. And that was it. Once the psychiatrist found out that I was on Chantix, which was right away, he was ready to release me then, but I had to go through the program. Anyway, that's just one of my stories with IED. The superhuman strength scares people. The super aggressiveness scares people. But you don't know any of that when you're in the middle of it. So if you know somebody that has a lot of anger issues, have them watch my videos with this IED. I know a friend of mine, his doctor has put him on different medicine, told him some other, he's got this or he's got that. But with talking to him and him talking to me and trying to explaining things, I firmly believe he has what I have, IED. The medicine he's on is good, and I'll get into more of this in another video with the medicines. I'll even tell you the medicines I'm on when I do that. But I'm getting close to 15 minutes and I won't be able to upload this if I go over. So anyway, this is part 1. I'll make a part 2. See if I can get them loaded up today or tomorrow. Anyway, part 1 over. See you on part 2.